So I'm about to go crazy trying to compare CapitalOne Venture X versus the Amex Platinum card versus the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And the reason I'm about to go crazy is they are so freaking different, right? So all these cards have all these different variables to them, different APRs, different annual fees, different reward points, different categories of spending, different reward points for the first year versus the second year. And it is just so confusing. So I decided to sit down and start making a spreadsheet, and that's what we're looking at on the screen right here. And this is a Google Sheet that is going to break down the reward points that you can expect from these different cards based on different types of spending. But it started getting more complicated than that. So what you'll see at the bottom is we have 5 different tabs, and I'm going to walk you through the last 3. And the third one is going to be a calculator that you can use so that you can figure out down to the penny how many rewards you can expect based on your specific spending. So what we're looking at here are the 3 cards I mentioned, but I did add in the Chase Sapphire Preferred. And the reason I did that is if you're looking at $10,000 of annual spend, that Chase Sapphire Preferred is the best credit card out there compared to the other 3. That's just because it has a lower annual fee than the other cards. Now you might be wondering like, well, what does $10,000 of annual spend mean? Well, for all these cards, what I did is I split it up amongst 4 different categories. And those categories are dining, flights, hotels and car rental, and other. So other being anything else underneath the sun that isn't covered in those 3 categories. And the reason I chose that is those 4 categories all have different amount of reward points that the different cards will give you. So in this particular case, when I did it just evenly split up, what you can see is that the Chase Sapphire Reserve really runs away with this as being the best credit card in terms of rewards. Now, this isn't the whole picture because we're not looking at the first year, because there's some pretty aggressive bonuses that CapitalOne Venture X and Amex Platinum both give you. So we're going to be talking about those in a moment. But before we get to that, I just wanted to highlight row or column K here and explain this. What this is doing is, like, let's say you look at this cell here, it says $70. It's taking the best possible return that you can get and comparing it to the second best possible return. And it's basically saying if you go with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, that you're going to do $70 better than the second option. And you'll notice that as you go down the spreadsheet, that gap gets wider and wider and wider, with Chase Sapphire Reserve being the obvious winner. But like I mentioned, this isn't the full picture. So why don't we take a look next at what the cards look like when you include the bonus. But before we get to that, I do want to say that in the description of this video, there's a link for this Google Sheet. You don't have to enter your email. You don't have to opt in for anything. All that I ask is when you click that link, you go to File, Make a Copy, because the copy that you're going to get is going to have a calculator that you can use and put in your own spending habits so you can figure out which card is best for you. I will also mention that there are links for each of the credit cards and different services mentioned in this video. Some of them may be affiliate links which help to support my research, which I appreciate because this ended up taking me about 45 hours to do this video because the spreadsheet was so ridiculous, which you're about to see in a few minutes. So now we're going to get a little bit more into the weeds, and towards the end of this video, I'm going to explain why I already use one of these credit card companies and why I'm switching, because there's some details that I just couldn't include in this spreadsheet. So looking at the first year with bonus, so this is a little bit more data, but these rows here are all the same data from the first spreadsheet that we just looked at. But now what we're looking at is what the bonus would be for those cards. So in this particular case, like CapitalOne first year bonus, you're not going to hit it if you're spending $10,000 or $20,000 a year, but you most likely will if you're spending $30,000 or more. So row E here represents what you would make your first year with bonuses with the CapitalOne card. And now if we were to take a look at all 4 of the rows here, you can see that the data changes just a little bit. So what you see now is if you're looking at 10,000, it's still the Chase Sapphire Preferred is the best option, but at 20,000, it's still the best option. The reason for that is the card has a low annual fee, but it also has an easy to hit bonus structure. So the bonus does factor in. The interesting thing is that now you can see at about $30,000 that the CapitalOne Venture X is actually the best credit card at $2,030 of rewards that first year. And then it beats out the Chase Sapphire Reserve by about $50. But keep in mind, if you're going forward after that, that the Chase Sapphire Reserve is going to be $1,362 a year, and this one's going to be $1,030. So unless you're somebody who's getting like a new credit card every year and you're trying to, get those initial reward points, you'd probably just want to go with Chase Sapphire Reserve. So I will get to the calculator so you can figure out to the penny how much rewards that you can expect for yourself. But I wanted to make you aware of why I'm making this video. So what you can see here is my own CapitalOne Venture card, not the Venture X, it's just the Venture card. But you can see that I have 90,364 reward miles. Now, if I wanted to redeem that for cash, what you're gonna see is that if I wanted to make this a credit to this card, that those 90,000 miles would be worth $451 in credits. So basically what happens is with Capital One, about 2 years ago in 2019, they started getting a little bit more shifty with their rewards program. And it used to be if you had 100,000 reward miles or points, that would equal 1,000 for whatever you wanted to do, whether that be cash back or Home Depot gift cards or travel or whatever it may be. But now you'll find that it's kind of diluted a little bit. So if I wanted just cash back, I'm essentially getting 50 cents on the dollar if I was to go that route. Now, if we were to go down here and say, you know what, I'm cool with gift cards, what does that look like? Well, let's say you do an Apple gift card and you say, I want $100. It's going to cost you 12,500 points. Now, if my math is correct, I believe that's basically you're getting 80 cents on the dollar instead of 100 cents on the dollar. And the interesting thing too with this is American Express, to their credit, they have this actual calculator that you can use on their website. And if I wanted to redeem for gift cards, here you can say 10,000 membership reward points are worth. You can see there are a few things where $1 is worth $1. But if I wanted an American Express gift card, again, it's 50 cents on the dollar. If I wanted to say go to the Apple store, it's 85 cents on the dollar. So it's a little bit better when we're using the Apple example compared to Capital One, because Capital One was going to give you 80 cents on the dollar, but this is going to give you 85 cents on the dollar. Now, if you read the fine print on the Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card, right? This is the Ultimate Rewards Program agreement. It says, how can you use your points? And I already have it highlighted here. It says, when you use points to redeem for cash and gift cards, each point is worth 1 cent, which means that 100 points equal $1 in redemption value. So that's really telling as well that we've already gone through this exercise. You see that Reserve, just on the surface level, if you're booking travel, is going to be the best card most time. But when you're redeeming for things such as cash back or gift cards, you're actually getting a 1-for-1 value, where with Capital One and American Express, it's diluted. Okay, so now let's take a look at the calculator tab on here. So looks like a lot of information. This is actually how I created those other 2 spreadsheets that we looked at. But all you have to do is enter in the data in these 4 cells. So when you're looking at your particular budget, what I always recommend to people is to get a budgeting tool if you don't have one already. Mint or Personal Capital are great options. I like Personal Capital because it's free and it does have a budgeting app. But I can also look at all of my assets in one place and get an idea of total net worth, and then also be able to see my budgeting. And again, links for those services are in the description below, and I appreciate you using my link. So earlier with the 2 sheets that we were looking at, it was all based on even spending, which isn't the best way to look at it, and that's why you'd want to use the calculator, and I'm going to illuminate that right now. Let's say that you spend $60,000 a year on your credit card. If we took a look at this and we just went even down the board of 15,000, 15,000, what you'd expect to see are these numbers right here. This would be your first year with bonus. There is an additional bonus with the American Express card. That's what these cells are about. Why that is for this first 6 months, if you can spend up to $25,000, American Express will give you 10x rewards on dining. In my opinion, most people aren't going to spend $25,000 in 6 months, but I did account for that with this calculation here. And then this number down here is actually what the first year total bonus is with that additional bonus. But when we're looking at this, you know, it looks like first year that Chase Sapphire Reserve makes the most sense. And then every year after that, again, Chase Sapphire Reserve. But where it gets interesting is if you look at all these cells, and I'm going to highlight the formula bar as I'm moving through these cells, you can see in this one, notice how it says ×2. Well, that simply means that the CapitalOne Venture X card gives you 2x rewards for purchases made for local dining, right? Amex is 1x, except for that promotion I mentioned. Chase Sapphire Preferred and Reserved are both 5x. So every one of these cells is a custom formula, and there are a few differences. So one of the biggest differences is flights. Let's say that you had a job where your company allows you to book your own flights, but they set you up with the hotels. So you want to maximize your expenditures on these flights, and you're somebody who flies a lot. So why don't we change the dining down to $10,000? The flights is going to go up to $30,000 because you fly well. And then we'll keep the hotel and car rental at $15,000. Now what you can see, and I'll put up on screen what was the numbers before, that there's a drastic difference even further of why Chase Sapphire Reserve is better. And that's because you get the 10x for the flights with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So what I would recommend is just looking at your budget, enter this information right up here, and then take a look at what first year looks like and then what second year looks like going forward. Now, I probably should just kind of explain these cells right here. This one's really simple. All it's doing is it's figuring out what your average spend is and if you'll actually hit the bonus threshold that the card provides. So if I was to knock this down to 10,000, and then we'll just put in some quick numbers here, what you'll notice is that this bar went to orange and everything's false. So what that's saying is you're not hitting that bonus the first year. So ignore the green numbers and just pay attention to the orange numbers. Now, of course, if I end up putting a larger number in here and we go up to 30,000 a year, immediately everything is true because you're going to hit those threshold bonuses. I know it looks like a lot of data, but at the end of the day, you just have to enter 4 pieces of information and then you can analyze the data right here. Now, it is worth mentioning that there are additional rewards and fees because to this point, the American Express Platinum card is really the dog of the group. But they do have a lot of just random kind of rewards and different things with that card. Now, the first thing you'll see is the annual fees here. The American Express Platinum, by far the most expensive. And then unfortunately, they do charge you an extra $175 for each additional user. I think the way theirs works is you can have up to 3 users for that $175 fee, but you're gonna have to pay that. Now, the other thing worth mentioning too here is the credit needed. You'll see with the Platinum, the American Express Platinum, and the Sapphire Preferred that they will take good and excellent, where the other two are only excellent credit. So if your credit's not quite, prime credit, it's just below that, you might need to go with one of those 2 options. Most of the things on here, in my opinion, are just kind of like whatever, right? Like, do I really need a $15 Uber Eats monthly pass or a free Walmart Plus membership? Or Audible, Peacock, New York Times? Like, it's kind of stacking these different rewards, but unless you happen to use those rewards, you may not find it that interesting. The only ones that I like on here are the ones where it's like a guaranteed credit. For example, annual travel credit. You get $300 with Venture X, you get $200 and $200 for hotel and airline with American Express, a $50 statement credit with Chase Sapphire Preferred, and just a simple $300 statement credit with the Reserve card. The last one that I want to highlight on here, just because I do think it's kind of interesting, is that for the CapitalOne Venture X, they have an $800 replacement for your cell phone. So there are terms and conditions to that, but basically if your cell phone is, stolen or lost or broke, they will give you up to $800 back to replace it. But I didn't want to include these types of details into the calculator because how often do you actually have your cell phone stolen, But I did want to make mention of that right here. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the airport lounges because this is a tough one to do a review on. And the reason for that is the American Express Platinum. You have access to the global and airspace lounges. I believe there's over 1,000 of those worldwide. The Chase Sapphire Preferred, if you were to go with that, there's no thrills as far as being able to get into the club at the airport. But the other 3 there are. There's Priority Pass Select with the Sapphire Reserve, and then the CapitalOne Lounge. The CapitalOne Lounge is their own lounges that they have at airports. I think there's over 1,300 of them now. And basically when you walk into these lounges, you have complimentary drinks. You actually have a little bit of space to breathe. It's just a nicer spot to be if you're waiting for a flight. So if you are somebody who flies quite a bit and you like those perks, you may not be interested in the Sapphire Preferred because it doesn't have those extra perks as far as the airport lounge. As you can see, it is pretty complicated, but with this Google Sheet, you'll be able to narrow down and figure out which credit card is best for you. And I appreciate you guys using my links in the description below. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is if some of these cards are too rich for your blood, maybe you're thinking, I'm not going to be spending $30,000, $40,000 a year. I'm going to have the best Chase credit cards. So the top 4 Chase credit cards video right here to figure out which card is the best card for your needs. All right, guys, I'll catch you in that next video.